Historians believe the format for Roman games involved animal hunts in the morning, executions of criminals at midday, and gladiatorial combats or recreations of famous battles in the afternoon and evening. This is where the less affluent people of Rome would watch the battles in the arena. But even then, they would still be no further than 60 meters from the combat. In 80 AD, the Emperor Titus inaugurated the Great Arena, with lavish inaugural games and feasting that lasted more than 100 days. Exotic animals were transported from the wilds of Africa for special hunts, and the best fighters were called into service as entertainment.
Weeks, months of continuous games, thousands of animals killed, hundreds of men to fight in that arena. But there is one story in particular of two gladiators who get called out of retirement to come back and fight for this big event. A bit like if we were to inaugurate a stadium today, if we were to call back Pelé and Beckenbauer.
The games that would go down in history as the most lavish, however, were those held by Trajan when he celebrated the conquest of Dacia, today's Romania.
The most spectacular games were Trajan's celebration of the conquest of Dacia, which lasted 120 days and over 25,000 gladiators fought each other.
The last use of the Colosseum that we know of comes after an edict by Honorius in 404 AD. And here too, let's remember that there is no perfect recipe for a good gladiator, for a good amphitheatre, for the beautiful battle. We are talking about a practice that began in the 3rd century BC and that ended at the end of the 5th century AD, an incredibly long space of time.
In a Colosseum that the sources tell us was already partially buried by the events of time, battered by earthquakes, fires and lightning, and the removal of marble. In 528 AD, at the time of the Longobards in Rome, a hunt is organized. This hunt in 528 in the Colosseum was the last recorded event of its kind.
The Colosseum is one of the wonders of the ancient world, and still stands 2,000 years after it was built. Amphitheatres like this one were venues for gladiatorial entertainment in every Roman city of the empire. There were no less than 230 in the 4 corners of the Roman world. Rome's Colosseum is the largest arena still standing today. But it is in need of imminent repairs. Man and nature have eroded vast portions of the monument, though it still attracts millions of admirers every year. Restorers are diligently cleaning and consolidating the ancient arena, taking care not to destroy the marks of history. Restorers are hard at work with nebulizers, brushes and sponges, cleaning away the grime of centuries. Renovation is due to take 2 years, and the problems that face the ancient amphitheatre before it can be fully open to the public are still many.
Doing conservation work on a site like the Colosseum is going to be multifaceted. It's not just one issue. You've got to always worry about water infiltration. Here on this hillside overlooking the Colosseum, you see what happens over time is that water is going to run off, and that runoff can eventually lead to a collapse. Occasionally you'll have seismic activity, you have the threat of earthquake, so you have ongoing threats. And of course, you have traffic, you have pollution, but you also have a metro line passing underneath, you have the cars and the metro that are creating more seismic activity.
Some of the most advanced monitoring of water infiltration and seismic activity inside an ancient Roman arena is already being done in Verona, to the north. Here the Romans had designed every seat, every stair, so that water would run off into a complex system of drains.
I Romani l'avevano probabilmente studiata.
The Romans had designed the seats very differently in that the way the seat was carved reduced the points of contact, and at the edges there was a small protuberance carved into the stone to stop water filtering under it.
Per evitare la infiltrazione di testa del gradone.
But when the later engineers in Verona replaced the damaged marble seating, they left gaps that allow water to seep through.
Questa situazione non è stata.
This situation was not respected when replacing the material, and consequently, from this kind of placement, we have serious problems today. The water infiltrates and goes and damages the arches, threatening to erode the material.
Possibilità di asporto del materiale costitutivo.
Any damage to the Roman mortar that holds up the barrel vaults poses a mortal threat to the whole structure.
Non c'è più un tetto nel Colosseo, quindi
There is no longer a roof on the Colosseum, so the water enters. But we try to maintain the floors below, that are the roof of the arches that are beneath. Aside from the nebulization, as we turned on the tap to wash, we also stuck a surgical tube in every hole to see if it went through.
tubo di caucciù con l'acqua in ogni foro.
The delicate work of gently hammering the stone to find empty spaces is time-consuming. Once identified, the hole behind the facade has to be filled up with marble stucco to make sure water does not filter through to the vaults and further damage them, as they remain the structure on which the whole of the Colosseum still stands. Once the job of consolidating the Colosseum is completed, the next step will be to decide what to do with it. The city of Verona has more than a century of experience using its arena for modern events. They have struck a balance for making necessary repairs to the monument while making healthy returns for the city.
The Verona opera season is an important source of revenue for the whole city. We're talking about 450 million euros of turnover associated with all the activities of the foundation.
But most stage managers aren't accustomed to holding events in a structure 2,000 years old. City and government officials are responsible for preserving the monument and also protecting the spectators.
Da quella che è l'esperienza che noi abbiamo acquisito, il problema dei
Our experience acquired over the years is that the organizers of events born for stadium environments are not flexible in adapting them to archaeological sites, such as the arena.
Indeed, over the years, the whole of the arena, almost as large as the Colosseum, has been rendered safe and functional using sensors like this, placed in cracks in the vault under the public seating to register the slightest movement. The system set in place is the most advanced of its kind.
Monitoring the structure is done through instruments set up in the arena aimed at verifying the static and dynamic behavior of the amphitheatre.
Statico e dinamico dell'anfiteatro.
Just a few days after the system became operational, the city of Verona experienced an earthquake registering 5 on the Richter scale. To his delight, the team were able to verify the mathematical models used to build his system.
The earthquake was quite large, but did not damage the structure of the arena.
Later, his team were able to verify the effects of rock concerts in the arena and reassure the Culture Ministry that this precious monument was safe.
Era sotto il dubbio che I livelli sonori emessi potessero in qualche misura creare.
There was a doubt that the sound levels could create problems with the structure, but with this system we could see that in any situation the level of disturbance, such as from the sound levels during the concerts, was in any case smaller than that registered in the earthquake.
Più piccola rispetto a quella registrata nel caso del terremoto.
In a rare visit to the tunnels under the cavea, Mr. Menon illustrates how the Verona arena worked.
Noi non abbiamo traccia di come doveva
We don't have traces of how the animals and scenography were put onto the stage, but we know that this space did have two semicircular niches where there was a lift and pulley system.
presumere che fossero alloggiati questi sistemi di sollevamento.
Today, this system of cables and rods keeps the floor stable under the orchestra pit, making the arena suitable for concerts. So far, the Colosseum has not reaped the benefits of show business. But one day, the Colosseum cavea could be covered too, and concerts and events held there.